I'm Andre Dolan, and I have been part of the QE program now for several years, many years, lucky enough to do that. Some of your faces I know and recognize. I'm here to talk about, we've had an evolution even inside of the QE program of we are a technology partner as part of the grant. And we've had an evolution of going from one kind of technology, which is web-based, et cetera, into AI, and that happened in the last 9 months. So that's what we're going to talk about today is what have we learned in 9 months. My role in my company, Yolby, I'm the strategic director of initiatives, partnerships. So I'm effectively in the field. Okay, we're a small team, we're a virtual team, but I'm the one that's on the ground in the field, talking with our partners. And I share a lot of stories. You're going to hear that. For those of you that have met me before, when I joined Yolby, and I joined specifically because of this fantastic grant through Tim and Tim's team, my son had a spinal cord, he had an accident, and he's a spinal cord patient. Now he's in a wheelchair. That was just weeks after I joined my company. So this is both professional and personal for me. And so you'll hear me also tell stories about that journey. I've really straightforward agenda. We're just going to talk about, why are we focused on what we're focused on? What is our AI? We call it Hello. What does that look like, again, in the projects we're involved with? What are some of the early results as they compare? This is really nice because I can compare it to our other platform, which I'm going to kind of refer to as our legacy platform. You'll hear that. And what did we learn quickly in 9 months? And I assure you, we're learning something different every single week. And then touch on what I have an ask of all of you, okay? We are not only part of QE, we're also part of the new IPART team moving forward. We're taking what we've learned so far, and we're helping to build that out in terms of, you guys are probably all familiar that AI is their agents, and now we're going to help work with AI agents around the idea of retention, super critical and important. What is our mission? It's your mission. It's to help people with in their I call it a journey. I do that as a mother. I do that as a professional. And clearly all of you live that. You understand it's a journey. I know the focus is employment and retention. I know that's the focus of the grant. That's why we're all here. In the field, I feel very, very much that the importance of the front part of the journey, the resources, the support. What does it take to get someplace? So you're going to hear that a lot of the work that we do is really front-loaded on those support and resources that are critical for job developers, for the families, et cetera. These are challenges that you live that I have on the screen here. When I first met Tim and the team and I heard the numbers, states were down considerably in terms of who they were serving. They were down so much, again, you all are living this, that money was flowing back to the federal government because they weren't serving enough people. I live this personally because my son is in his mid-30s. He's not yet ready to be employed, but in the people that I do know and I've met in the field, they're not walking into offices, you know that, not just because of COVID, but because of the way young people, young adults think of what they do, how they do it, how they get something done, right? So that's where our first platform started. What did we have to do around the idea of social capital to bring people into the system? So that's why we were focused, and we remain focused on outreach and intake for the first part of our agents, and you're going to hear that. Secondly, again, you're living this. I'm up here on the stage alone. The reason I'm on the stage alone is because of budget cuts. So some of my partners could not travel. They no longer had the budget to come here. Okay? So you're living this. Again, from the very beginning, 4 years ago, there weren't enough people working on their teams. There weren't enough job developers. There weren't enough career coaches. They couldn't hire. They couldn't keep them. The turnover rate was high. Setting all of that aside, now we have AI. I just heard Tim say, talking about Sarah's great research that she's doing on the use of AI in training and teaching students, master's and doctoral students, what to expect. VR has certainly been around in that category. And Tim said, can we be using AI? Should we be using the AI? That ship has sailed. We are using AI. It's here. So that ship has sailed. I should have said my background. My background is working 30 plus years, mostly in technology. I'm an English major. Marketing, sales, consulting, working with private, public sector, mostly in the small business space and nonprofits. I understand firsthand what it means, because I'm dating myself here, but it started with accounting systems, HR systems, CRM systems, et cetera. It's all about change. It's all about change management inside of an organization, whether you're 2 people or 200,000 people or 2 million people. It still requires change. And it still requires leadership and vision to understand that in the case of AI, the ship has sailed, and we're going to have to find a way to incorporate it into our organization. These numbers, I don't have to go through these. These have to do with outcomes. Again, these are important numbers, but there are so many important numbers and factors that come before even getting to who gets placed. And I'm going to emphasize that we're finding it is around resources and support and making and helping to make that happen. Our AI is built on a suite of agents. We started with, and what we decided that we took the approach that we didn't want to build, and it's all what's called AI native. It's built, we scrapped the legacy platform. We shut it down within weeks. We had built the new AI agents, and we stay focused, singly focused on what was the first most critical thing to accomplish. It was to onboard an individual. What did we need to know about them? Okay. Would they share information with our agent? Our agent's called Sam, our onboarding agent. Could we provide a better experience for that individual, meaning they stay engaged, they want to talk to us, meaning Sam, okay? Would that provide actionable data for our organizations, the business users, the admins of our platform? Could we change anything related to the time and cost of bringing people in and starting to serve them? So could we move the needle on retention and employment? I'm going to start to give some of those answers, and you're going to hear resoundingly that we know yes on some things and everything else is TBD. Here's where we started. This is on our legacy platform, okay? And I'm going to stick with the two initiatives that we have underway, Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan is Autism Alliance of Michigan. It is about people with disabilities. It's singularly focused on that. And they have a statewide employment coalition that predated us meeting them to help to accomplish that. In Wisconsin, The initiative is around the city of Milwaukee. People with disabilities are absolutely part of that population, but it is not singularly focused on people with disabilities. The numbers in Michigan are small, and the numbers in Wisconsin are much bigger because it's a much broader, okay? On our legacy platform, which was like a LinkedIn, Facebook, it was built around the idea that our stakeholders, employers, nonprofits, community orgs, the workforce agencies, the schools, they were not collaborating as well as they could. They weren't sharing information. So we started with the idea, again, think of a LinkedIn or a Facebook, right? It's a big collaboration happening. There's a lot of stakeholders. There's a lot of information. Wisconsin was, they got Milwaukee, the program is called Direct Connect Milwaukee. They're dedicated, they're wonderful, they're hardworking, they have a very small staff. It comes out of the city council. They were bringing in, they got up to 2,000 people. They were bringing in several hundred a year, around 40 to 50 a month. We are the platform. We are not the marketing outreach. Our partners are the marketers. We give them the tools to help them market. QR codes, some flyers, etc. So the way my technology company measures onboarding is how fast could we bring the people that they attracted in? How easy could we make it? Okay, could we help improve that? We started mobile first, meaning people could be on phones and they could be someplace and do it. Because young people, as I said, they're not going into offices, they're on a phone, they're on an iPad, etc. Importantly, we were a set of questions always for that, we call them candidates, job seeker, skill seeker, because we were built for workforce, that workforce journey. If there were 10 questions, only 5% of everybody was giving anything more than here's my name and my email. We weren't getting enough information out of people to make it actionable. So we had all the stakeholders in, but we didn't have enough information about the user. Okay? Engagement rate was low. And the activation, meaning that they would come in, give us their name and email, click, yes, I want to be involved. There was a high drop-off rate. We know that our teams, both in Wisconsin and Milwaukee and Michigan, had small teams. They had 1 to 2 people, okay? The disclosure rate, meaning would they say, do I need support? We didn't know because they weren't answering the question. And the match success we're always been based on the idea of content and opportunities. Here's opportunities to find jobs, part-time, full-time, et cetera, apprenticeships. Here's opportunities to find training. Again, all of our stakeholders, this was their content or opportunities. Here's opportunities to find a resource, transportation, housing, healthcare assistance, et cetera. That was low. It shifted from a pull technology. And that's what LinkedIn and Facebook is. Someone has to go to LinkedIn or Facebook primarily, get engaged. You're probably like me, you probably dip in and out of LinkedIn. You might get an email, but you don't really live on LinkedIn. So that was what we knew that part of the friction was. AI is a push approach. AI pushes information out to individuals that get engaged. So that's why we scrapped the legacy platform. We started with the 2 agents. Sam is the end user, the individual, the client, the consumer, the candidate, whatever our organizations call their end users. And Max is the agent that helps the organization get set up. Okay? As I said, we were focused on bringing them in, building their profile. And what did we learn here just to start? We started with AI native, I've explained that. Human-centered, you probably all know what that means. That means that the agents are built, again, I'm the English major, act and speak like a real person, a job developer, a coach, a counselor. This is really, really important here, this last part. Our engineers decided the most important thing that we need to do was, and this is what AI does, is it builds, it's a blank slate. It uses context. What was the context that we wanted to build our AI agents around? It's double-sided context. Who was the organization? What was their mission? What were they trying to achieve? Okay, so our agent, Sam, knows all of that. Okay, and our agents were built so that if Autism Alliance has a mission and programs and services, Sam knows what that is. If New Horizons of Michigan, whom we're about to start going live with them, they have a different mission, similar but different onboarding questions. Okay, so we have the ability to take an agent, our agents, and train on the context. This is within minutes of who is that organization, what are they about, what's their mission, what's their goal. If it's the state VR agency, obviously, Sam wants to know about the end user. Who are you? What do you care about? What are you trying to do? And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we learned about that. Good AI engineers, well, they all would have to do this, have to measure as they go. So we have evaluation criteria. I know this exists. I've seen it. I didn't build it. Okay. But we measure, and we started by saying we're going to measure at the end. Sam had a conversation. Sam got information back. How did we do? So right out of the gate, we're going to have to use evaluation metrics every step of the way. So it's important to understand. Here's an example of what a conversation would look like. Here's the answer. It got measured. Here's how it got measured. What did we learn? We could have made a better job recommendation. How do people today understand and engage with our partners' agents? And it's really easy. We're effectively a marketing communications tool. We live on their website, we replace a contact me form. We're about to start replacing resource directories, which I think is really cool as a parent. I was talking to Kate about this. We sit on a social media post as a QR code, as a link. We're on flyers, okay? We're at events, and obviously an email. In the case of Michigan Autism Alliance, they don't do a lot of events, so it's mostly through social and flyers and emails, and it's small. They've started slowly because they're moving some of their services to pre-ETs and transition students. If they, as an organization, are kind of changing their direction. And in the case of Milwaukee, when they implemented it, hiring season is going on. So a lot of our data is coming directly out of events. I gave everyone on their table. I can't do a demo up here. We're not hooked up to the internet, which is crazy, but I'm not. So I can't do a demo, but I routinely provide this link, and it's a QR code right on your desk. Use it from your phone. Do it now, do it later. Just go in and play with Sam. And what I did is I created a fake organization called Your Success, and Your Success mimics what Autism Alliance does. Okay? So you should play with Sam yourself, see what you think. When you do this, you've got my email. I liked it, I didn't like it. Was she helpful? Etc. Our engineers are starved for feedback and users. I'm going to make my ask now. If you have a project or initiative, it does not need to be workforce-based. I'll give you some examples. We want to help you with your project. Okay? I don't care how small it is or how big it is. So we need feedback, we need users, and we'd like you to think about that. I'll give you some interesting examples that have come up recently. Okay, so what did we learn just to start? I talked to you before about the legacy platform being kind of social capital. We immediately increased how fast and easy we could bring someone in. Okay? So again, same marketing efforts, events, contact me forms, etc., right? We immediately, and I presented this at Savannah at I'm going to screw up the name, the ARPI conference, right? Okay. Wonderful. A lot of you are members of that. And then right after, like a couple of weeks after we first launched this, and we went from 50% to 72% just within the last 8 weeks. What I mean by that is someone started to talk to Sam, finished, and you all have this experience as a user. It'll say to you, do you want to confirm that you want to basically join, be registered? Because we were seeing a drop-off rate. And our engineers, and I apologize, I'm being really rudimentary about this. They could see where was the friction, where was the drop-off rate. It had to do with where we were telling them that, you need to click here. Simple things like that. So we're always constantly looking at data and user engagement, right? Can you do that with an office? Can you do that with an email? No, you can't. Do you know why they didn't make it to the office, or why they didn't open the email, or what? No, you don't. This is the best part. I've actually been personally really surprised at this. When you go through Sam, you'll see. We went from barely having any information about anyone because they weren't answering the questions to nearly 100% of the questions being answered. Really personal information. I don't mean personal in the sense like they're giving us their health statistics. We don't ask PII. We don't ask the questions, by the way. The questions come directly from our organizations, the agencies, the nonprofit, et cetera. I have been astounded at what people are willing to tell Sam. I just quit working. I don't like animals. I don't like noise. I was in a museum for 10 years. Like, it's just, my partner in Michigan, she's a master's degree HR, and she said this is a very affirmative, empathetic approach to talking to people, and maybe that's why they're sharing, but also maybe a little scary because people talk to AI now. What we don't know yet, I talked about content, so this is really important. So the questions that get asked should be based on outcomes. We've learned that too. If your outcome is to say we're going to track employment retention, full disclosure, we're not there yet. We're part of the grant. We're building out the agents as fast as we can. You might ask one set of questions. If your approach is, we need to understand if they have HIV, we need to understand what resources they're using for HIV. We need to understand what the gaps are in those resources. Clearly, those questions are going to be different, okay? What we found is that the content being added and out of the gate, it's a really crummy way to do it. We ask our administrators to manually put in content. That's a pain. We know that. I can see you wincing because it is a pain, okay? they're already putting content into social, they're already putting content on their websites. We knew that that was a place of friction. We have a new approach. It's being tested now. It's really, really cool. I've seen it. And what we're going to say is, we're going to go out and do dynamic content the way if you play with ChatGPT or Gemini and you would type in, tell me, my son's in a wheelchair. Tell me all the places that I can go in Michigan. My son's in a wheelchair, he plays golf. Okay? I just did it. You can get back the answers. They're links to websites. They're not curated. I don't know who trusts those names, those resources. I don't know who trusts those services. Our approach is that our organization will say, here are my trusted, vetted partners. So we're not the World Wide Web. And it will be dynamic. It will go out there. It will find it. It will be real time. For those of you that are techs, we're not going to be storing that data or that content. It will be dynamic. It's taken me a little bit of time to get my head around it, but it's really my partners love it. Okay, and we're going to be releasing that soon. The reason we have the match success, what we found was not just based on what was the content that was available. Do we have enough jobs? There are no employers in the room here, right? CSA, the net would be a great example of employers and a great jobs board. Workforce agencies, all of you have jobs boards. Typically, that information is behind an authorization, some kind of wall. We'd like you to break down that wall for us, to help us break that wall down. Okay? It's easy for us to integrate or pull data in, and that's what I am asking some of our workforce partners, agencies, et cetera, to help us do. We're not going to store it. We just want what's called access, and you all understand access, so that we could make the recommendation and push that content to that individual. Okay? But what we also found in terms of matching, because we measure it, some of the match was based on asking the right questions. Did we know enough about someone? If someone's answer was, I'm studying farming, tell us more about that. Well, what if they don't know what industry they want? We're learning this with young adults. What do you like to do? Do you like to work with your hands? Do you like to work outside or inside? So we're learning that those are the matching. And the way we measure matching is not that the content got pushed to them, these opportunities, resources, jobs, trainings, et cetera, but was the individual interested? Did they click, yes, I'm interested? We measure that. Or now we're about to start measuring, what's the follow-up? Did they follow through? Okay. We didn't know before, we had no information about whether or not they were revealing, whether or not they had any need for support, because they weren't answering the question. We know in the case of Michigan, almost 90% of people are telling us I need some form of support, and we know what that support is. In the case of Milwaukee, which is that broader population that I talked about, that number was around 30 or 40%. Okay. I've talked about a lot of this already. That AI guided onboarding is essential. We found it to be essential in terms of helping people give us information so that we have a richer profile. We know that it took processes from hours of intake to minutes of intake. In most cases, we are the front end, like the welcome or the screening original process. The second step is going to be, now you come into my case management system. Now you come into my CRM system. Now you come into my application tracking system. But if I give you an example of, and I'm going to touch on this later, but I'll just share it now. Milwaukee, I explained that it's across the city, it's job and skill seekers, stakeholders. Milwaukee Public Schools has apprenticeship programs, really cool apprenticeship programs, strong ones from the state of Wisconsin. They have really strong construction programs, trade programs. The city has construction and trade jobs. The city has a requirement that 40% of the workers on those sites be Milwaukee residents. There has been zero accountability, zero sharing between MPS students and this program, RPP. So now that's going to get launched this week. It's being sent out to the high schools. The graduating seniors will say, here's the program, RPP. You'll get involved in it. Are you interested? Here's what kind of roles are you interested in construction? These are their questions. So now we'll be able to measure. So that was a specific set of questions with a very specific outcome. Can we get kids out of high school interested in construction into the city's construction projects? Very targeted. Okay, and then we can broaden it out from there. They can. Okay. I talked to you about the idea that Milwaukee is this broad 2,000 people, and Michigan so far is started at 100 with a legacy platform, and on the new AI platform, they're going slowly. It's they've done about 40 in the last 8 weeks, right? So the importance is not always the volume or quantity of people brought in. It's the quality of the people brought in. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So our goal is to constantly move those engagement numbers, move those recommendation numbers. When we can start to measure support, move the support numbers, move into the job placement and retention numbers. Okay, we want to stay really highly focused because we have the analytics for it. I've touched on a lot of these. Keep the AI focused, the agents focused. Assume AI is table stakes. It's a must-have. People do trust AI. No one's jobs are being eliminated because of Hello. Okay? What we are doing is freeing them up from administrative tasks. We're giving them the space, those teams the space to say, I will have more opportunity, I will know more, I can make a smarter phone call, or I can have a smarter in-person meeting, or whatever it might be. Okay? And I'm going to talk to you about some of my conversations with CEOs of these nonprofits and the decision-making at the city about how are they looking at AI and cost. Test, learn, and iterate. I showed the metric earlier, our valuation metrics. Our product engineer, Julian, just shared this with me. I was just talking to him about it. Evaluating at the end of how the conversation went, he's now learning, we are learning. We need to evaluate. Of course, it's astounding that AI can do that, but Sam will now evaluate through the process. How am I doing? Not at the end, but during the process, a rubric all the way through. The last one has to do with change management, embed in workflow. And I'm used to doing that again from my background. I'm really aging myself. I've gone from salespeople having folders and pieces of paper and walking around and trying to convince a big automotive supplier, why their sales guy could walk out the door with all the information. Because they could, to a CRM system. I feel this is so similar to me, those feelings. Okay, so our organizations, state agencies, city workforce agencies, counties, nonprofits saying, not now, not today, not my budget. Yes, they are. But slowly but surely, I can feel, when I say slowly and surely, this is just in the last 6 months. I circle back and they're like, we use a CRM system and they're talking about having AI part of it, or whatever it might be. What I know from change management is you can't think in terms of, oh, I have a resource directory and I need to keep maintaining that. And I've got a person that does that or two people that do that. It takes a certain kind of a CEO or a visionary or a program director to really think, wow, I won't have to even store this data. And how does that impact my teams? How does that impact my staffing needs? My budget? Our secret sauce are the prompts. Prompts are, you guys know what that is? Those are the questions that get asked. So we are built on OpenAI. It is ChatGPT, but it's not ChatGPT out of the box. And we are building prompts in conjunction with our organizations. Sam, I don't know what her grade level might be the way she talks and speaks. High school, right? So in the case of Autism Alliance, their program has went from higher skilled jobs for neurodiverse students, candidates, to more, we're moving back into transition students. Sam's going to iterate on that. Sam's going to change the way she talks based on the context that we're providing. And this isn't hard. Again, we just ask our partners, talk to us, share your material with us, and we will iterate on that. The iPart team, the Prime grant that we're part of is going to be fantastically wonderful. If anyone here already knows about it or they're involved in it, all the academic researchers that are part of that around retention, that's informing what we're doing with that retention AI agent. What are the challenges? What are the red flags? What do we need to think about? And that's going to get trained into the agent. Privacy first, of course. That's why we have what is effectively a vetted closed environment. Okay, so we're not out there just grabbing data and information. We're going with what is important to our agencies, our partners. Here's an example. This bottom one talks about hallucinations, so fake information. I talked to you about our approach of going out and scraping content, scraping websites. That's all publicly available data. We went out and tested, what if we want to scrape Indeed? Show us the construction jobs in the city of Milwaukee so that we could then give the students easy and fast access to them instead of making them go 10 places to Indeed, et cetera. Candidly, it started making up jobs on Indeed and LinkedIn. So we're like, okay, so that's not going to necessarily work. We have to think about that. But my nonprofits in Michigan, same with the community partners in Milwaukee, most organizations, and I say this as a former marketer who had to run teams that do websites, do not update their websites. They do not update their calendars. So think logically, where does a lot of that live? It lives on Facebook or LinkedIn. So when I told you about the rec program, the golfing program, for that, my son's a golfer and he hopes to get back to adaptive golf. It's on Facebook. The weather changed, rain's coming in. It's not on our website. We put the information on Facebook. So we have to learn how to do that without hallucinating. The rules around AI, and you all know this too, the big tech guys are at a race to whom will own, is it Gemini? Is it ChatGPT? Is it DeepSeek, et cetera, et cetera. Some of it's locked down. Some of it we can't yet get because it's competing technologies, right? But we have to get to it so that we are getting our partners out of the manual content adding business. Today, this is what we gather. Within weeks, it'll change from we're not just gathering again because we're not just about workforce. Some of the other initiatives we're being asked to get involved with could be I'm an event planner. I'm doing a certain kind of events. I need certain information. So think intake, onboarding. Okay. We learned to iterate and evolve to improve matches into what are more support needs needed. Sam will give you suggested next steps, recommendations. You'll get an email or a text message. Here's what was recommended. Here's the partners. We give the admin a really simple dashboard to look at who's applying. This will get built out with our partners. We keep referring to Autism Alliance. Okay. So that's a statewide employment coalition. They are, they've evolved, they're changing based on their needs, based on their mission, based on their board. So we're going to get involved in two additional cool programs there. One is with the city of Detroit, the county of Wayne. That is a workforce initiative and a support initiative. The second one that is a vision is that they have human beings, human teams that are called navigators. And if I am a parent and I have a 3-year-old or 4-year-old that's getting diagnosed with autism, where do I go? I can go to the navigator. I then live with that. I can potentially live with that navigator who could help me for the rest of my life. So not just adult needs, family needs, children's needs. So we're going to help, we hope to help the navigator program so that they can expand who they can assist, how long they can assist them, how fast can they get them resources, dynamic resources. So that's just an example, okay? In the case of Milwaukee, I talked about the Milwaukee Public School Program, internships, apprenticeships, trying to build a career pathway that's smarter, more accountable, more measurable. And another initiative that we are in talks with them over would be around the initiative of residents of the city. How can we help them with measuring and improving through support, through resources, health, violence, all the things that are important to a city. So way beyond just economic mobility and jobs. So we're in talks with them about that. So it's really, really wide ranging. This is some of the feedback that we're getting from candidates. We don't track, we don't share anything. We don't disclose information. It's all, only the admins know what it is. The reason we have these quotes is because they were at hiring events and they're willing to share quotes. Okay. So I think that's important to share. I'm going to pause here. I have no idea what time it is. Stacy? Okay, I'm a fast talker, so I probably will be able to close you guys out soon. Any thoughts or questions? Any feedback on AI? I'll take it if you have it. Don't be shy. Can anyone, okay, so you don't have to talk. Show me your hands if you already use AI in your work. Okay. And I didn't mean if, I guess I should ask, do you use AI at all? Right. Has AI been banned at your work? Not yet? Okay. Um, do you think that the people that you serve would be in any way, shape, or form better served using technology like this? No, in conjunction with what you do to serve them. Okay, so you're going to raise a question. How many of you think AI might replace part or some of your job? Good. Thanks. I'll give you an example. I told you my background, I'm a marketer. When we realized that we had to help our organizations who are strapped, one of the things that they were strapped with, and this will be forever, is that they don't have access to marketing tools and a marketing staff. There might be a marketing team, but to get them to stop what they're doing and to post something or to create a flyer or to do anything. So our engineers are like, okay, we'll solve for that. So we put a marketing AI tool in for the admins so that, and it's contextual. So they can go in and say, write a flyer, write a social media post, create an email about the event that's coming up that we want to invite them to and have them use hello. We have a hiring event coming up. We have Autism Alliance just did this. We're doing an outreach program back out to our ISDs, intermediate school districts, right? The school districts in the state. And we want them all to know about hello and that we want it, so they wrote the flyer. So instead of bugging the marketing department, they did it. Did that replace the marketing department? No. I've shown the director of marketing how she and her team can use it. She's like, that's great. So all we're trying to do is to help to augment or make it easier for people to do their day jobs. We don't create the graphics, we just create the copy. Yeah.
Give me 1 sec. Who asked the question? The 400 people joining can't hear you, so now they can hear you.
Oh, can you talk about the cybersecurity and privacy mechanisms that you have in place for products like Hello?
Right. So we have when we built it from the beginning back to the legacy platform, it was designed to have strict guardrails that the city of Milwaukee could use and the schools could use, right? And in the case of the nonprofits and the other providers that are in Michigan, they have, the data is, it does reside in the cloud, okay, obviously. No one has access to the data, their data, but us and them. So if you have to be invited, you have to be invited by whomever the initiative is to even be part of, you have to be part of the program. You have to be invited in. So that's why I said we're not out to the World Wide Web. And we have a very strict policy. We don't share data. We don't sell data. If I were the engineer, I could give you more of the engineering terms around cybersecurity, but I could tell you that in fact, we have to pass the standards of governments and healthcare providers and schools. Okay. I lost my train of thought. Did someone else have a question here that I didn't? Yes. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. You asked your question because in my mind, I have a question about cost that always comes up that I want to talk to you about. Okay.
Thank you for the insights you've been sharing this morning.
Yeah.
My question is to my peer's question about cybersecurity. Do you think it's valuable for, I'll say, nonprofit organizations, we'll say mid-level, to invest in AI that is customized to their organization?
That would be, that would be my tagline. I think it's essential that it be customized to your organization. Otherwise your garbage in is garbage out. It'll be too generic, it'll be too cliched, it'll hallucinate. It won't be valuable. So, and that's a good point about, that's what I wanted to share is I get questions about cost. So let me help. And the question is, would we replace people? As I'm talking to the organizations, we do have a cost. It's low. It's incredible. If anyone has had, that's why I asked, has anyone started to use, if you signed up to use the pro versions of ChatGPT or any of it, deep research, for a small organization, we're priced kind of like that. $99 a month. Okay. It scales as your need for more people, more data. We have back end costs, so it's going to scale, right? So a city is going to pay one thing, and a smaller nonprofit, small organization is going to pay another. The price goes up when you start to add in, I need more agents. I need matching, I need content, I need X. That's normal. That's the way technology gets built. And so a suite is worth one thing versus, an a la carte, one piece of it. We are a fraction of what it costs to hire someone. So as I'm talking to CEOs, real story, they're like, I need to go out and raise money. My fundraising event, my charity event is this weekend. So I know I need to raise $1,000 because my board doesn't always just spend $1,000. Up to, I'm the city, or I'm a workforce agency, or I'm a nonprofit, and I have a budget cycle, so I need to build this into my budget cycle. So I know where their offsets are. It's a combination of communications and marketing, what they might spend in technology. Again, we're a fraction, because I saw some quotes and estimates comparing what we would do for a city versus what they're spending. And we are an offset for them adding more staff. So I've not run into yet at all, I'm going to let anyone go. I've run into, I don't have enough people. I can't hire fast enough. I need to do more with what I have. So that is where the question of cost has come in. And of course, that's the goal with all technology. If I go back to those salespeople with pads of paper versus using a CRM system, that's the same discussion that's gone on from the beginning. So I don't think anyone in this room cares about cost, but I want everyone to understand that's in the field. That's what I talk to the CEOs and decision makers about.
Thank you. Hi, I'm just wondering about the balance between AI and human personnel. So
Yep.
I understand the cost is saving to the employer, but it's replacing someone's job, right? So what have you found has been, I guess, the sweet spot between saving the employer money and also not eliminating jobs that were kind of in a roundabout way trying to get people into? So
Yeah.
we're almost.
Are you now talking about the job seeker, or are you talking about the organization and their staff?
I'm talking about the use of the tool as an engagement and intake tool,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, good question. So, okay, I'll use real numbers. I have a CEO who his job developers are maybe $40, $50, $55, $60,000, right? We're a fraction of that. We are not, he can't hire enough job developers. He has open roles, open FTEs, part-times, and he can't hire them. So we're not being brought in to replace anyone. We're just being brought in to help funnel the stream of who they can work with and how they can help them. Okay? I thought what your question was going to be about the human-centric, like, we specifically, very intentionally, the language of Sam when you talk to her is friendly, it's affirmative, it's empathetic. In some, it's young. That the example I'm giving you is a younger person. Thanks, Stacy. It's a younger person. But for another organization, again, if I go back to a team that needs to onboard people with HIV, and maybe they're measuring outcomes for, are they getting the resources they need? Then the way Sam talks and sounds is going to be different. In that way, we're offsetting training costs. Okay? So if it's an administrative person, again, I told you I'm a person with a son, an adult son. Every single day, I'm on the phone an hour to 2 hours talking to customer service. I call them triage people, for me to get to talk to the expert I need to talk to. So I'm going to flip it back and tell you about my experience as a parent. If I could cut through that and get to an expert and bypass those administrative layers, I'd be a much happier mother. And I'd get a lot more done. And I could give very specific examples of how it would help my son with some painful experiences, that I could get something done faster. I guess that I also think of cost on the families for getting the support and resources they need faster, better, smarter. And I know that's a little challenging, but earlier I talked about change management and flipping the way we look at what we do. One of the things I thought you were going to ask me is, can we change the way we sound and talk based on a language, based on an environment, cultural? The answer is yes, because we are contextual. So we're absolutely looking for partners to help us test that out, by the way. I think I'm at my limit. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate people asking candid questions. That's helpful. I'm here for the next 2 days. Stop me. I'm going to start hitting you up to see if you have a project that we could help you with. Okay? Thanks very much.